What's up everyone, it's Q from RetroQ Gaming and here we are again. So as you may or may not remember, a little while back Capcom had a big series of announcements usually related to Mega Man. They had news of announcements like Mega Man 11 being in production. There was the announcement of the Mega Man X collection, something I can't wait for. I'm really looking forward to that. And they also announced that the currently existing Mega Man Legacy Collection 1 and Legacy Collection 2 were coming to Nintendo Switch. They were out on almost everything else as it was already, so the fact that they were finally being ported over to Switch was a big boon for many people. Some more details actually came out today, of all days, about the actual upcoming Mega Man Legacy Collection 1 and 2 for Nintendo Switch. It turns out that first off, if you live in the US, there will be a physical bundle of Mega Man Legacy Collections 1 and 2, where it includes both games. I'll get to the actual full details of it in a second, and it's going to retail for $40. Now, there's currently no announcement of a physical version in Japan or a physical version here in Europe, but you're looking at roughly the same kind of thing, plus they'll be available on the eShop anyway. Now, here is where it gets a bit dodgy, and this is the bit I actually want to talk about and the reason why I'm making this video. So, if you buy the Mega Man Legacy Collection in America, and you get the physical version of it for $40, what do you get in the box? Well, you get a single game card, which has Mega Man Legacy Collection 1 on it, and you get a download code. Let me say that again, a download code for Mega Man Legacy Collection 2. That's right, you buy a physical version of this game, you get a download code for the Legacy Collection 2. Now, why is that important? Well, when you look back at another Capcom release on the Nintendo Switch, you could look at the Resident Evil Revelations bundle. You had Resident Evil Revelations 1 and Resident Evil Revelations 2. Both of these games, when put together, would total over 32 gigabytes. So you would be looking at something that would not fit on a 32 gig card, let alone what would have to be the unreleased and delayed and even more over the top expensive 64 gigabyte cards. We all know that they're delayed. There's no word on them yet. They're delayed probably into next year, but that's a whole other topic that we've already talked about. Now, why is this important to note? Well, when you look at it this way, the fact that the Mega Man Legacy Collection 1 is less than 1 gigabyte, it's about 480, 500 megabytes, so it's very small. But Mega Man Legacy Collection 2 is actually about 4.8 gigabytes, so when you add the two of them together, you're looking at roughly just over 5 gigabytes. Now, what does that mean, and why is that a factor worth talking about? And is there anything prohibitive when it comes to that? Well, Nintendo Switch game cards are available to developers and publishers in 1 gigabyte form, 2 gig, 4 gig, 8 gig, 16 gig, 32 gig, and of course the unavailable delayed 64 gig. But publishers and developers have actually spoke out against this in some ways, and there have been reports again from publishers and developers that starting at the 1 gigabyte card, every time you go up a capacity, the price increases. That's a big thing to note, because at the end of the day, these are all businesses, people. Nintendo is a business, Capcom is a business, Bethesda is a business, EA is a business, Ubisoft's a business, whoever, these are businesses. There's risk versus reward. There's investment costs versus what they get in return. There's profit margins, etc., etc., etc. And what Capcom are doing here is, when you look at the actual capacity of these cards available and the download side of it as well, and the cost of these cards, they are most likely opting for the smallest and cheapest game card available to them. So that way Nintendo will have to foot the bill, the digital download bill, the server space, whatever it is, or however they handle their online aspect. Who knows? Maybe it's stored on the Nintendo server somewhere. After all, it's just one single file that's just copied and downloaded over and over and over again. Or maybe it's somewhere in the Capcom side of it, and once you buy the license through the Nintendo eShop, it actually comes directly from the Capcom server through the eShop onto your Nintendo Switch. Who knows how it works, but the point is still the same. The actual overhead and the storage requirements for the digital side of it are basically non-existent. There's practically, I mean, it's a 5 gigabyte file, people. There's basically, what do I have? I'm looking around my desk here. I have terabytes of storage in my PC. I have nearly 30 terabytes of storage in external drives in my desks. I have an old school standard SD card that I just used to update some firmware on something that's a 2 gigabyte card. It's that old. Hell, I even have a 512 MB micro SD card in my drawer. The point is, actually, you know what? Just to get it even further, I have a 64 gigabyte USB 3.0 key. Now, anyway, that's beside the point. You see where I'm going with all of this, that flash storage and storage in general is dirt cheap. 5 gigabytes is absolutely nothing to any of these companies, be it Nintendo, be it Capcom, whatever. And most people are actually upset at Capcom for this. I can understand people being upset, especially because of the whole thing with, when you look at the Switch, a lot of the games do require additional downloads, not just for extra patches and extra content and bug fixes and whatever, but a lot of the actual Switch games are, an increasing amount of Switch games are actually forcing you to download portions of the game, which is completely evident in this situation. Of course, this tanks the resale value when it comes to the Legacy Collection, but we're going to stay away from that side of it all, because that's down to a select market. That's more looking at the whole GameStop and people reselling and eBay market and all that, but we're looking at the actual Nintendo and Capcom relation for this. Now, like I said a minute ago, most people are upset about this and are upset about Capcom for it, which is understandable to an extent, because these people want their full game all on the one card. They don't want to have to deal with external storage. They don't want to have to deal with downloading portions of the game, etc., whatever. But at the same time, I don't blame Capcom for this. I blame Nintendo for this. I have done this and I've blamed Nintendo for this in multiple other videos before. And in those videos, I said, this is going to happen again. This is going to happen again, and this is going to happen again after that. And it's going to keep happening over and over and over. And we will see an increasing amount of this happening when you're looking at anything that's not a first-party Nintendo game, or that's not an indie game. And when you look at it, the majority of games on the Nintendo Switch are either first-party or indie games. The actual proper third-party side of it is very lackluster and minuscule. And when you look at the amount of games that are available from third-party publishers and developers, like the actual proper ones, if you will, you look at how many of those are on current other systems as well. How many of them are large games? How many of them require additional downloads of the actual game content? Spoiler alert, it's basically all of them. In fact, off the top of my head, I think only FIFA and Skyrim are the only ones that don't actually fully require you to download portions and chunks of the game. And once again, this is not the fault of other companies. This is not the fault of, say, Bethesda or of EA or any of those. This blame solely rests on Nintendo. Nintendo designed a console that used a proprietary memory format that is exclusive to them. Hell, that's basically what proprietary means. And it's going to be produced in such limited quantities that it is going to cost more. It's going to be made in limited quantities, and it's going to be sold on to these other publishers and developers at the same exact cost. Not the same cost of actually being made, but the same cost that Nintendo wants to sell it on for licensing reasons, maybe even for profit margin reasons, just on the sheer actual physical hardware side of it. But the fact is that Nintendo designed this. Nintendo are not swallowing the cost of this, and are pushing it onto other publishers and developers voluntarily. So am I surprised that a company has opted to use the cheapest version that they can basically realistically afford to fit their game on? I say realistically because at least this way there's a physical game card in there, the smallest one for the tiniest portion of the game, and then you can download the rest of it. No, it doesn't surprise me whatsoever, because like I said, the prices are told to increase on every single step up in capacity you take. A 1 gigabyte A 2GB, a 4, an 8, a 16, a 32. When the 64 gigs come out, they'll be even more expensive. And there's no one to blame for this but Nintendo. You can't fault a different company for wanting to maintain a profit or a profit margin. Now, at the same time, do I think this would realistically use about an 8GB card? And do I think that the 8GB card would have been prohibitively expensive, or that it would have made that much of a drastic difference on their profit margins or their profit lines or their revenue or whatever? No, absolutely not. But I just think they want to make the most money possible out of this. Because remember, they're a business and they have the option to do this. So why not take it? Granted, a lot of people are going to be pissed off about it. I know I would be if I was in a situation where I wanted the Legacy Collection on the Switch. But at the end of the day, the blame does not rest with Capcom. It rests with Nintendo, who created this system that gives developers the option and kind of forces them to do this. I'm not saying they should have stuck a Blu-ray player in the Switch, but there were other options they could have explored. So let me know in the comment section below how you feel about this whole deal. Are you upset that if you buy the physical version of the game, you still have to download the Legacy Collection too? Or do you not care? Or will you be downloading the whole thing digitally? Or will you have to be getting an external micro SD card? Or what's the deal? Let me know your thoughts on it anyway in the comment section below. Let me know how I did with the video by hitting the appropriate button. And hit the subscribe button, because for some reason you're already not subscribed. What are you thinking, people? And I will see you in the rest of the videos in my channel.